or Google. Amazon and Google have hardware. They've got, huge contracts that go out. If you're talking social media, you'll have to look at each individual that's been hired on an individual basis. Some of the things, and I don't want to have this too much of a shotgun blast because I've been listening for a while now, but they talked about the voluntary involvement of social media companies. That's really what it is. I can't speak to FBI. I don't know anything about exactly how that works there. But if a company, and as far as private entities working with the government, there's usually a financial benefit at some point, with a company. In the end, a company is a company. There's a bottom line that's involved. And so, if you're gonna work with somebody, you're thinking that at the end of the road, there's a pot of gold somewhere, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. And it would be good to have you stay with us on stage. I know there's a few speakers I want to speak, but guys, I want Ian to finish. Ian, do you mind finishing off the files? Because I know we haven't gone through all of them.
Yeah,
I summarized what we've read so far.
Really quick, in the background, really quick, if you, Feds for Medical Freedom, if you know anyone else who is a potential whistleblower or anyone else who is in the CIA, FBI, who could join the space, that would be amazing. Sorry about that.
Nice one. Yeah, no, really good one, Feds. If you can, or James, if you could send them to me via DM and we'll verify them and invite them up, that would be great. It's just the main question I have, and you kind of gave us some clarity about it already, is like what having someone from the FBI work at your company. My previous co-host and who still works at the company, Chet, used to work for the Air Force at the intelligence and worked at the nuclear program at the US, and we have him in the team because he knows his shit. So there's nothing wrong with having people that used to work for the FBI, but having a lot of them at executive positions, and then considering the story and the drop that we're seeing now, I think there's a lot of questions that we had that we'd love answered. So if there's anyone you can invite, just DM me on Twitter. I'll keep your DMs open. It would be great to have them come up on stage.
And also having them disproportionately right wing isn't necessarily a good thing either. Just
agree. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, exactly. So James, if we can have
Mario,
different.
If this is the one thing about the FBI, because in that email, they essentially phrased it as if they're going to bring charges. They said these are preservation letters. We'll let you know later on. To my knowledge, the bulk of the people on that list that they wanted banned, none of them were ever charged. So they were, imagine you're at a company and they're basically the FBI is telling you that we believe these accounts are violating federal law, preserve it, give us the telephone information, etc. Like the pressure, even if it's a left-wing organization, you're not going to fight it, because if it comes out later that these people did commit crimes, you don't want to be beholden in the media as defending them. So the pressure is immense.
So what you're saying is that they're using that as an excuse to get them suspended or get the tweets deleted?
And to preserve the information, get their follower list, get their location. I mean, they asked.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, there's another exactly. There's another important tweet. So I see Watcher Guru, who covers a lot of this information. So there's two important things if you wanna, as you do your tweets, Watcher Guru. Two important points. Number one is in the threads, and Protocol pinned both above earlier. In the threads, there's one email that mentions Meta, so it shows that a lot of this is, and we kind of make that assumption, but we didn't have any evidence to point that direction as far as I'm aware. So one email does mention Meta, and then another email mentions that the FBI was requesting a lot of information on those users, including location. So two interesting things that Protocol spotted, which are really good. Otherwise, I'll go to Ian to continue going through it, and
can I just point out one quick point, Mario, which is that this kind of information intelligence goes around every country. Like Britain has the MI6 being with some of the major companies in Britain. It happens in Russia. It happens with any major state. So I wouldn't be surprised.
I'd say in what Protocol will probably jump in and say is that not the request for information, but it's the reasons they're requesting that information. So it's based on very petty tweets from what we saw. And I think that's why we're questioning it, because, I think we all know that requesting such information is relatively common. You'd be naive to think otherwise. But the reasons behind it is what made it at least potentially concerning for some of us. And I know some of you were also discussing the whole Elon story with the journalists, etc. So Alex, who's on the panel,
it doesn't help that the deputy.
Prodigal, you gotta give me a break, man. I'll give you the mic right after, I promise. Right after Ian reads the rest of the thread. But just for anyone listening, we're going to be covering that story tomorrow in a space. Alex and Catherine are helping get journalists from both sides of the aisle, and Brian as well, who's on stage, I think. Journalists from both sides of the aisle to cover, to discuss that story in free speech and where to draw the line, etc. Because I know that's been a really hot topic in the last 2 days. So that will be a discussion for tomorrow. I'll pin the tweet above, and it's on my profile as well. But Ian, I'll let you continue going through the thread. Otherwise, we'd never be able to do so.
I'm never going to get the opportunity to finish.
Yeah, no, but I don't
No, it's fine. Ian. We'll just talk over you each time.
Yeah, I'll just mute you. It's fine. Number
Oh,
35.
fun.
Yeah, 35. FBI in one case sent over so many possible violative content reports. Twitter personnel congratulated each other in Slack for the monumental undertaking of reviewing them. All right. 36. There were multiple points of entry into Twitter for government flagged reports. Later from Agent Chan to Roth references a teleporter platform. I think we already read that one. So, state government.
I think we're up to.
What number?
Yeah, we're up to 20. I think we're up to 24. That's one I had read. So there's a letter.
No.
We're past that. Yeah.
Higher. This is way past.
Yeah. I'm going through. 35,
39,
36, 37.
40, you've already read. Okay, here we are, 41, yeah. A video was reported by Election Integrity Project, that's the EIP, at Stanford. That's a think tank, right? That's not a government agency, which was apparently the strength of information for the Center for Internet Security. The CIS is a government organization. So they're working together with the EIP to flag video content, and here's the video. It says here, this is a long and legal heavy video, but essentially claims that the Pennsylvania election workers opened inner envelopes on ballots before election day and called people to correct their ballots on election day. According to the CIS, which has escalated through the EIP, the video misrepresents 1, Pennsylvania law, 2, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court decision, and 3, affidavits shown in the video in the thread. The thoughts on how to handle this one, and it's a link to Tracy Beans, who is a QAnon poster, right? She's one of the, I would say, loudest proponents of QAnon. And basically, it flags the video that she posted. I don't know if she made it. No idea. Doesn't really specify. 42. If that's confusing, that's because the CIS is a DHS contractor. It describes itself as partners of the Cyber and Internet Security Agency, CISA, at the Department of Homeland Security. So DHS essentially has a ton of these organizations that are working under it or partnering with it, and these are mostly contract workers, people who work with the government or for the government, right? They are people like Nina Jankovic, who was, as we all know, the censorship czar for the Disinformation Governance Board, which is now closed. So the EIP is one of a series of government-affiliated think tanks that mass review content. The list also includes Atlantic Council's a digital forensics research laboratory. A lot of people ask me, is the Atlantic Council in any of these emails? Well, yes, they are. They are in this thing, right? So it's one of the several organizations that have worked with the DHS on, information suppression, as I would call it, or in this case, information monitoring, right? That's how they would probably describe themselves. And others include the University of Washington Center for Informed Policy. Britain also has a number of these, like the Center for, what is it called, Digital Hate, Centering Digital Hate. That's one of them. Another one is the one that Nina Jankovic now works with. It's the Center for Internet Information or some bullshit. I don't know the name of it. So the takeaway, and this is 44, is almost done here. What most people think of as the deep state is really a tangled collaboration of state agencies, private contractors, and sometimes state-funded NGOs, like the ones I just mentioned. They're all, many of them are state-funded. They take government contracts. They work with the government. Sometimes it's the U.S. government, sometimes it's the UK government, or Germany, or so on. Like one of the biggest Antifa accounts on this platform, which is still active to my knowledge, the one that lives with TikTok, is funded by the German government, right? Their department of, I'm not sure exactly which department, but it funds them, right, to enables them to do their work on suppressing information. And the lines are so blurred as to become meaningless. That's what Matt Taibbi says. And number 45, final one, says Twitter Files researchers are moving into a variety of new areas now. So watch Barry Weiss and Schellenberger, that's Michael Schellenberger, and this space for more soon. So we're probably going to get more, well, not probably, we're definitely going to get more new drops. Some of them will be related to the COVID-19 disinformation. Some of them might actually branch out farther than that, where, there are files related to Brazil's election tampering stuff, for instance, that was very recent, as well as Canada's suppression of the Freedom Convoy protests. That is something that I personally requested. I think that's something that Elon Musk, if he's listening to the space, would do well to give to Rebel News, because we are the best, most capable organization of covering that, because we covered the Freedom Convoy protests from day one. Right, we are the only company, the only media news organization that followed the whole thing day one, embedded within the entire protest, and we managed to untangle a lot of the lies that were put out by the Trudeau regime in Canada. So yes, that is all we have so far. Yep, now you can continue discussing.
Yeah, just one point quickly. Someone who actually works in this space, the Atlantic Council is a massive organization with a range of different interests and activities. Protocol, you can laugh all you like, but unless you are actually involved in the industry, then it's not something you're going to get enough.
On there, what they did
But yeah,
Ukraine,
Protocol, how about you let...
Guys, yeah, and I was giving the mic as well, Piotr. I was giving it to Tom because I know he had his hand up. Tom, you wanted to comment on the. Oh, good, man. Oh, good. Tom, I saw you wanted to comment on the last bit of the drops. You're muted, Tom.
Yeah, it's important to note, as Ian noted, that you've got this cutout for the feds funded. The variety of left-wing funded mechanisms behind it, in addition to partnering with the government to censor Americans. And, if I recall correctly, this group was behind a series of lists smearing Americans with, quote, putting out misinformation. I think I was number 3 or 4 on the list. And what was going on here is that the left was getting pushback from people like me and others concerned about the changes to the election systems in the run-up to 2020. And for those of you who don't know, Judicial Watch is a major group when it comes to election integrity. We're in federal court repeatedly on it. We have former lawyers from the Justice Department working on our team. We've testified to Congress. There's really few groups that have more national expertise in this area than others, and yet we start getting censored, and Judicial Watch and others start getting censored by partisans and ideologues who think that if you question the way elections are being run and the way the changes that were implemented will impact election integrity, you're to be censored. And in the case of the FBI, you couldn't even joke about showing up to quote vote on Wednesday, the day after election. So you've got a major issue going on here, and Musk was on these spaces a few days ago or last week, and he talked about this portal, and there's a reference to the teleporter process, which is kind of a new word for us, that the FBI and others had access to get people censored. So the big question I have at this stage is, has Twitter turned off the special access to the feds? And if we're thinking about how to deal with this, what is it we can do quickly? Well, maybe we can get Congress to stop the federal government from asking big tech companies to censor American citizens. Just straight up. Does it get any easier than that in terms of, quote, big tech reform?
I'm in total agreement with that. What I find kind of hilarious, I don't really care too much about the Twitter files anymore because it's a lot of confirming of what we already knew and what we suspected of Twitter doing. My big concern is, what is Google and Facebook doing? And I haven't heard any politicians actually try to do anything about it other than firing off a few tweets or going on Fox News or something. Because Congress should be having this conversation that we're having right now. What does this mean for our government? What does this mean for big tech? How is that relationship combined? And why aren't they doing anything to move things along? I have full faith that Elon will figure out all the corruption going on within Twitter and bring it to light. But none of it really matters if Congress doesn't act on the other big tech social media platforms.
That's because they still need to control us. So they're not going to like come out and be open about any of this because this is how they control the masses. I mean, why would they reveal their own hand?
Sarah, like, is no one in Congress talking about it? Are there no politicians, left, right, whoever? Is no one?
Not that I know of.
Is it any Catherine? Are you implying there is some Catherine you can share with us?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I haven't followed.
I think there is.
Guys, Jim Jordan. He can.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Invite them.
Yeah, we should. We should.
Good point.
Personally, I think the lack of effort right now on their part is there's a few days left of their terms, and they might not want to even open this bottle of worms until the new Congress comes in January. But I honestly don't think they're going to take any action because they really don't care. Their positions aren't threatened by the Twitter files.
Well, it's even worse. It's even worse.
I don't think they do it over the Twitter files. And if anything, I feel in some ways the Twitter files makes it more politicized, like to one side. So like, I think it has to be a partisan effort. And I think the one issue that I have with the Twitter files, it does come across like it kind of comes across right wing.